Good day, everyone. Welcome. Have a great Saturday. It's weekend, which means second episode of Major Saturday. And tomorrow we are going to do Altcoin Sunday. Market is pretty much boring, so not many market reviews. If you've checked the video of yesterday, you've seen that we've made some content regarding buying the dip, which will be applicable to the markets in the coming period, I assume, rather than all the bearish stuff we can see. And today the focus will be more on XLM, and we're going to discuss some other majors. But first, as you might know, we discuss some theoretical background on the stuff that we're discussing. So, when are majors moving? Just repeating what we have said last week. Majors are moving when Bitcoin is finding its support and starts to grind upward slowly. The best behavior for other altcoins to move is when Bitcoin is slowly moving to the upside, or at least behaves in an uptrend, which is the case right now. And surprisingly, since the halving hype went away on Bitcoin, we see that projects are releasing upgrades, new roadmaps. We know it from Cardano, which caused the price to break out of a range and start to behave in an uptrend. The same we can see with other coins, as there are mainnets coming up, there's staking coming up, roadmaps are coming out. Silica is doing great and gets almost close towards being a top 20, top 30 project. And I believe that we're going to see it way more from the projects now, as the market is finally in a sentiment that's getting better. And given that the sentiment is getting better on crypto markets, projects feel comfortable by releasing their stuff. And you should realize that the technology is still very new and bright, through which upgrades take time. The internet took years before we got to the levels we are right now. And you should not be expecting that blockchain and everything surrounding crypto should be there in one day. The internet was there since the beginning of the 90s already, and before it gets to the level we are right now, it took about 20, 30 years. Different layers, obviously, but you get the point that Bitcoin is a first runner. It's here right now. It's 10 years old, and it's still starting up, while the massive altcoins are still pretty much new and just barely a few years old. So that's also why I believe that altcoins can generate a higher ROI in the coming cycle. However, they should be more risky as well, given that the ROI will be higher. Alright, the only way BTC pairs could get crushed in the coming period is when BTC makes a heavy volatile move downwards. It could be that BTC pairs bounce up, unless there's some real panic, and then people will probably sell their BTC paired altcoins, or just altcoins in general, to be safe. If Bitcoin breaks up heavily, in which I assume that we get a breaker above 10.5 grand towards like 11.5k in one go or in 1 hour, it's expected to see the BTC pairs go down, through which the USDT pairs remain stable. And when Bitcoin is done with the upwards move and starts to consolidate again, you will see altcoins pacing up. Bitcoin is currently at the April 2018 levels, while maximalists are still shouting that the majority of altcoins will still die. Yes, the majority is already dead, but the good projects will remain. And you should also realize that as long as something is listed, it will probably pump. Pricing on an exchange is something different than the fundamentals, which we also see in the equity markets right now. The fundamentals are really bad on the companies. However, the stocks are just going up because of supply and demand, and because people want to buy it, and they just don't do any research. And that's what we also see on some altcoins right now. They are moving despite that there's just no progress anymore in the project. The good projects will obviously start to move more and generate more ROI. But in general, I assume that altcoins will have their period right now in which they come back to levels where Bitcoin is currently, which means that the highest ROI is still for altcoins to be made, in which I would also not be surprised if we get a rally towards like $500 on Ethereum, or some other majors like Cardano going to 20 cents or maybe even higher. That's not weird to have. We should realize that the markets are extreme to the downside, in which nobody expected, or at least the majority did not expect, such a downfall to occur on the downside, which also means that if you make targets to the upside, it usually goes some levels higher than what you are expecting, as it's always extreme. So in that regard, we also know that from the previous .com bubble, Amazon retraced about 95% to be the biggest winner after. So being down 80-90% and being called that is actually sometimes a really good entry. Then the wealth cycle change, I will just call it like that. What I mean by that is that in general, in regular markets, there's a certain moment that you have to switch from having stocks and real estate towards having cash and commodities. And I truly believe that we're getting to a flipping point given data and given fundamentals right now. I've been going about that in the previous videos or in some webinars that's also on my YouTube channel. I'm mostly holding cash, gold and crypto right now, as I truly believe that our economy is going to start or get into a depression, despite that the equity markets go up right now. However, that tipping point is there in every market. So once there is a tipping point in the sentiment or in the cycle, people will remain stuck in the previous system until it's already that far into the new system that it's not even providing a great ROI anymore. So analyzing and seeing and knowing that you should be switching over to a different sentiment is probably the best advice I can give you. So I also believe that we are currently getting in such a phase on the crypto markets in which people still believe that there is a downwards fall to occur and probably a lower low on the markets, given that we have seen one in the beginning of March. However, what happened in the past and in the previous years does not guarantee that it will happen again in the future. And there are just strong signals that it won't happen. Truly, for sure, it can, but the signals are getting stronger and the potential ROI is getting stronger for the upwards momentum rather than any further downwards momentum, in which all the bears and all the shorts can actually fuel the rally to the upside. So if you check on social media during this phase, you will see many bears who still believe that we have to go down, as they are stuck in the system from the previous years, until at some points they start to tip over and then the market makes a correction, after which we get a higher low and stuff. So you have to analyze and understand why and how to use social media in that regard. That's also why I'm not really reading anything at all on social media, given that it's just making me blurry in my mind, and I've just got my own analysis, and until I'm wrong in my analysis, I'm not going to give too much attention to different views. It's just like, yeah, it's your view, I've got my view, we can discuss on it, but I'm not going to lie on what somebody else is saying. In the end, it's all about me and about my own portfolio. So that's a little bit of monologue about the markets right now and what I'm seeing and why I'm still believing that we are going to see some substantial movements on the majors. Whether or not we're going to see a drop to 7.6 on BTC, who knows. Last week we have discussed Ethereum, Ripple, Cardano and Ontology. And today we're going to discuss Ethereum, Ripple, Stellar and Litecoin, as the title is also about Stellar. Why are we discussing Ethereum all the time? Well, Ethereum is the crucial factor. If Ethereum doesn't move, 90% won't. And then I've got a clean chart, as you can see, in which I just wanted to share some background on my view on these charts. And what I do see here is that at some point during an accumulation or distribution, there's a certain compression period. And if you go back in history, and this one is providing all the data, you can also see that during 2016 the price started to compress inside a sideways movement, after which we broke through the, as you can see over here, 100 DMA, probably also 200 DMA, and then we started to see a substantial rally to the upside. Through that you can see that the volatility started to become lower and lower and lower, and we see another compression here, after which a downwards fall, support test, and we got a new accumulation period or reaccumulation period in which volatility starts to drain down, another compression period before it breaks out to the upside. So if you can see that, you can see that we have got the exact same figures constantly. So in this regard we had an accumulation period in which compression started and we lost the downwards support, in which a further downside occurred towards the support over here. Always supports are based from historical grounds, and that's also the good concept on altcoins right now. Altcoins will find their floor, in which through the BTC pair they will come back to this floor in the future one more time, or like a few more times. What you can see on the altcoins as well, like Litecoin and Doji, they come back to previous levels in the history. For USDT pairs it's different. If the market starts to trend up, they won't necessarily come back to this level. But for the BTC pairs, it's pretty much highly likely that it will come back to levels that it's hanging on right now. So what you see is compression, move. Compression, breakout, move. And what we see right now is a similar structure in which we are getting a compression on, to me, a higher level, as we are flipping support levels of, or old resistance levels for support. So despite that we see an increase in volume here, which we can rely on the fact that Bittrex was way bigger by then. If you go to Binance, you can see an increase in volume over here. What we see here is a bit of a structure we have witnessed on Coin as well. High low, high low, higher low, higher low, and constant support resistance flips. Through that, I don't want to see Ethereum BTC drop below the support level over here, but we can. We can have a retrace towards the green zone, consolidate for a while, get some more compression in before a heavy volatile move occurs. Always when there's compression, when there's a sideways movement inside an accumulation, a big volatile move follows out of it. And given that since this period in 2016 and 2017 we are finally getting some structural support above the 100 day and 200 day MA, and it's being structured in which we get higher lows constantly, this is a different structure, in which we flip levels for support. What you really want to see right now is that green holds, after which we make a new higher high. And that higher high is probably 0.04 in this zone. Oh, sorry. Over here, in which we get back into the next range. And yes, definitely we could have some more consolidation before we break to the upside. But this does not look bad to me. To me, it's just accumulation in which we make higher lows, higher lows, higher lows. Yes, we still make lower highs. And what you want to see is that we make a higher high in which we confirm the uptrend. But since here, we also make higher highs. But if you analyze this on the history, you can still see that we've seen a higher high here as well with higher lows, after which we broke down and retest. So this structure is still bearish. What you want to see right now is green hold, another SR flip, probably retrace towards 0.0232, which suits a potential move on Bitcoin. After which you take this high and start to rally to the next one and make the higher high and get a clear upwards momentum going. Confluent with the fact that we are above the 100 day MA and 200 day MA, I still believe that we're in good shape for the altcoins. And we are actually looking similar to this one. I'm not expecting such a surge to occur. Might be if Ethereum 2.0 comes, but that's just guessing. What I see is that we get a nice compression going in which we have an upwards trending structure. And given that we have a triangle figure here, including the MAs providing support, I suspect we are getting a big move somewhere in this summer. So when we get towards Ethereum, we still have the same figure. we can see that the volume is increasing recently, which is showing highly interest. And if I delete everything, I just see that this took the liquidity on the downside, was a shakeout to everyone. And now after this, in which we start to trend to the upside, you don't want to lose to 15. And if you might wick, obviously, but you want to close above. And you really want to get the higher high going at this point, in which preferably you want to see a rally towards 400, 380 to 415. Are we getting such a structure over here? No, this is usually the end game. But if you go towards Amazon, you can see that during the start of the new upwards trend after 2000, or after like the previous crisis, you can see that it starts to trend to the upside, makes an SR flip on lower levels and just continues to grind. And in bull markets you make the most amount of money. So no, I'm not suspecting that Ethereum will all of a sudden start to make a huge move towards $1,400. I think it will go in waves, in which the crucial next area is around 414 to like 450. This area over here should be the real breaker for the next rally, which also suits the fact that then we have support at the 2018 level, which is similar to the 6K zone of BTC. So if we conclude the Ethereum part, if we get an entry around 215, I would be highly happy to get it. If we drop below, I'm going to watch around the 160, 170 zone over here with the MAs. If we get it, we flip another level for support. And I suspect that we're going to do the same as Cardano, in which we break towards 330. Then we've got the coin that we have been discussing, and we have got a title on it in which XLM is showing a similar compression period, right? Very long accumulation period in which we now make higher lows. We're just making higher lows in which we are constantly tapping into the resistance zone, in which we have confirmed the resistance here. We've tested it twice and maybe even 3 or 4 times already. That I'm going to believe that the next breaker to the upside is going to be the range breaker, especially given that this is the first time we confirm support on the 100-day and 200-day support, in which we have seen 4 tests of the resistance, which decreases the amount of sellers on this level. And given that there is large gaps inside the charts, I assume that when we make the breaker to the upside, the next level to watch is around 1500 sets. And it shows Silica showed a similar figure, in which we have a nice long-term compression period, in which we fail to hold the 100-day and 200-day MA over here, in which we do hold it here. After that, we surge towards the next level, in which there is gaps in between, and you see some nice buy the dip opportunities on smaller time frames. But the next range resistance area is over here, in which this surged with 250%. So given that we have this, I truly believe that there is a likely chance we're ready towards 1500 Satoshis on Stellar Lumen. So what level are you watching right now? Well, the best entry is gone, but I've been making this in previous videos around 800 sets, or preferably 4740 would be an entry. Or when we get a breaker above the range resistance and flip it for support, that would make an entry in which you can target the 1250 to 1500 sets level. And then the main question of this show is whether we can, I would have clicked that away, thank you, in which we would have the fact that also moving above the 100-day and 200-day MA took the liquidity on the downside, started to make a nice uptrend, tapped the resistance for 3 or 4 times already, in which we are making a pretty bullish structure. People would say this is a bearish divergence. I do not agree at this point. The trend is not done. A clear trend break and confirmation of this divergence would be a break below 76 cents, in which you can start trading the bearish retests. And then we are looking at support around the green zone around 6 cents. However, if we hold around above 7.4 to 7.6 cents, I assume we're going to see a breaker of the range high as well, confluent with the BTC pair of Stellar Lumen. And then the next range resistance levels are 10 cents and 14 to 15 cents. And these are target zones in which I suspect that there's a likely chance we get a corrective Q3 or Q4, in which you want to see the previous range resistance become support before you take the next entry. And if we get a corrective move from 15 cents to 8 to 9 cents, the next rally will probably be towards like 28. And then when when Stellar moves, XRP usually has to move as well. I'll just get rid of the MAs over here as they have less effect on this chart. Heavy retrace, and the big question on Ripple is that it should regain this level. If so, if we regain that level, then this is just deviation and we can start targeting the range high. But until then, there's not much to say. On the BTC pair, I want to see this. However, when Stellar moves, XRP usually moves as well. And the same structure you can see is here on Ripple on the USDT chart. Nice upwards trend in which the gray zone is currently providing support. Going pretty stable, mid-range right now, not really providing an entry. Targeting the range high again and consolidating would mean that I suspect a breaker to the upside, in which 28 and 34 and most likely the February high is the target for me. Why is that? Well, we took the liquidity on the downside, so I suspect that we just go up towards the liquidity above previous high, in which it's likely to see a move towards here, after which we take a higher low and continue to move. So as long as gray holds for XRP, I suspect we get continuation. And then finally some slight movements about Litecoin, which shows a similar figure. I really want to see a reclaim of this green zone over here. However, lower time frame, we flipped this 4660 level for support, and you really want to see compression and a significant surge afterwards, likely wise as this one. So Litecoin, higher time frame looks bad, smaller time frame looks okay. BTC pair, USDT pair looks identical to XRP. Also flipping levels and constantly making higher lows, in which a next test of $47 looks likely as Ethereum 215, which broke, after which Ethereum rallied towards the next level, in which I assume we're going to see a rally towards 55 to 62 on Litecoin. So that's it for today, a little longer than usual, 22 minutes. If you like the video, if you like the content, please like beneath. Subscribe to the channel or reply if you want to see some certain topics. So yeah, have a great Saturday, and I'll be back tomorrow with Altcoin Sunday.